And thank you to everybody that has joined us today as well. We appreciate your time and look forward to engaging you within our HRMS solutions today. Basically, want to again talk about that. Tandem definitely has uh, given a complimentary Sage HRMS needs assessment. So after anything you see today, you might want to specifically talk about your processes and your individual needs. Keep that in mind as you go through, and that's something that Tandem has really taken an effort. They want to talk with you further about your individual needs and methodologies. Basically, and as they go through, one of the things that we want to say is, Sage, we're a global organization of, software providing a manufacturer. Obviously, some of you may be Sage customers today. If you are, we want to say thank you to that. But some of you may or may not know we do sell through an authorized business partner channel such as Tandem, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate them because without business partners like Tandem, we wouldn't be here today. I'll give you a little background about myself. I'm a field sales engineer with our Employer Solutions division. That's the division of Sage that makes the HRMS, employee self-service, and some of the different things that we're going to be seeing and talking about today as we go through what we call the employee life cycle. Our Employer Solutions group, we really do focus on that, and there's a lot of different key terminologies and different pieces that we can utilize and focus on your needs. So rest assured, whether it's the recruiting cycle, it's benefits management, it's some of the new topics around the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. Those are all things that we want to definitely be here for you, talk to you, and also work with the rest of your organization because, as you probably are aware, HR is a lot more than just a back office department now today. It reaches into the entire organization. And again, with benefits and different compliance and registration needs. So we'll be talking about that as we go through. For today's agenda, like I said, we're going to kind of follow that employee life cycle all the way through from really that hire to retire scenario. Talk about some of the different records and reporting, what makes a great HRMS, why pick a great HRMS, and why Sage is the best HRMS out there. And then we'll talk about some different payroll processing and reporting needs, whether you are a current Sage payroll customer today with 300, 100, maybe or Sage HRMS payroll. We have the integrations and tools necessary for you to be able to do your job and integrate with the rest of the HRMS solution. As I mentioned, we're also excited to have our new offering called My Workforce Analyzer. This is our tool that handles those lovely 1094C and 1095C IRS forms that are going to be due out in January and March. So if any of you have seen those or been aware, you're probably getting a little nervous of tying all the benefits information all the way through to those 1094 and 1095C reports, and we have solutions that can help you out in that particular areas. At the end, as Linda mentioned, please have those questions ready as we're going through. If you want to send those in a chat to Linda or myself, we'll do the very best to answer those, or we can follow up with you after today's webcast. So we just really want to thank you for all your time today. One of the things that we focus on in our Employer Solutions division is obviously what makes the organization. We like to ask people that. HR departments obviously get it. It's the people. The people are the ones, they make the difference. They're going to strive to do your goals. And even if from scenarios such as you ask executive teams, 99% of the time executive members are going to say they're people because, companies and organizations are made up of those great people. So what we want to do is promote that and really allow the rest of your organizations to see that. A lot of times HR doesn't get that ROI treatment, so to speak. It's those hidden numbers behind the scenes. And so what we did to promote that, there's a website if you want to write it down. It's www.roei.com, which stands for Return on Employee Investment. And a lot of you have probably heard the term ROI. Well, this relates to employees. If you go out there, we have some great research that has been done. I thought one of the neat ones that we collected from SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management. They said that it costs around $3,500 for an organization to replace one $8 an hour employee. And those are things that, again, we can reduce that life cycle, that cost, and efficiently get an employee up to speed. So we have those tools, those different programs that we can utilize, but also help your different pieces of the organization be aware of these various things that occurs. Also, we can talk about those processes that might cost you money, time, energy, might take an employee out of service, or cost you issues with compliance. Those are things that we definitely want to talk to you about, and that's really part of that HR assessment that Linda was offering and Tandem's offering. A great HRMS system is also going to do something else for you. It's not just a back office record-keeping solution. We want to engage your employees, especially in today's day and age. Employees want to be connected to their employer. They want to feel like they're empowered to do their job, and they want to have that direct line of communication. And also, HR departments generally feel the same way. I talk to a lot of different HR departments, and we hear the commonly used phrase is, we didn't know this person was hired until a week after they were actually hired, and we're HR. Those are some of the things we absolutely want to eliminate and have better communications with your employees by 3 simple tenets: providing them their information, giving them effective communication, and giving both departments and sets of individuals work environment and tools necessary to do their job. So when we do that, the HRMS portfolio, what we consider it, as you can see on the screen, is really based around that employee life cycle. And we are aware that in today's day and age, different organizations obviously have different needs to pick and choose. And that's what makes the HRMS solution so great, is that it is modular. The HRMS itself is the core, the heart, or what we call the single point of truth, but organizations have different orders or different priorities of what makes sense for them. One of the things we want to do is also eliminate data entry in different key areas. So no more entering an address 10 times. And I call that a single point of truth. You might hear me refer to that several times throughout the demonstration today, but it's just key to know that it all comes from the core, that information shared with the individuals that have rights and access to do so, but you're not wondering if data is out of sync, or for instance, if which piece of data is correct, because it might be in 5 different places. We understand there's a lot of competition in the market today, and really my goal is to show you why Sage HRMS is the best choice when it comes to your particular solution, how flexible it is, and what I like to consider the personalized approach that our team and the Tandem team is going to take with your organization today. So really, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our demonstration environment, and we can walk through the different modules and that employee life cycle as we go through and begin. So let me bring over our demonstration environment, and everyone should be able to see on the screen here a screen that says "Welcome to Sage HRMS." This is what we consider our core HRMS solution. Okay. What I'm going to show you today, first of all, is some of the core setups and the core features that come with the HRMS, so you know what that single point of truth really means. Some of you may be coming from different backgrounds, different types of reporting. Some of you may be using a lot of paper today to store employee files. Some of you may be using Excel or certain databases, or maybe using a payroll system as a pseudo HRMS. And I really want to cover all those bases and really show you what a great integrated, true HRMS will give you, such as Sage. So the first thing what we want to talk about is your rules, your HR rules. Sage HRMS isn't just some out-of-the-box software that you install and then it just tells you, okay, congratulations, we don't care what your job types are, we don't care what your salary grades are. That's part of that again, that personalized implementation approach that the Tandem team is going to assess and talk with you about. Very important to know that. That's why I start out, right here on our rules tab, because you see some of the things that the Tandem team is going to go through with you and pull. And that's because with Sage HRMS, we want to know your organization's HR terminology. What are your job types, your job codes, your salary grade ranges, different setups? What do you consider your termination reasons and codes? Just to name a few. Very important, not only for just storing the information, but also assessing that and getting that information out for analytics, for alerts that we're going to talk about, saving individuals time, saving your individuals money and different departments money. Because that ROEI messaging isn't just for, for instance, just to show different things. You can actually save the rest of your organization's money. So we want to talk about that. Let's go into an employee record. When we first talk about the employee record itself, we can work with individual tasks and records around the employee themselves. We can add a new hire. We have modules that, of course, can do that around recruiting and those kind of things. And then we can mass process different records as well. Gives us the ability to walk through and handle those. So when we go into an actual employee record, one of the things that we also want to talk about is the integration of that entire employee record across the board, including job and pay, benefits, payroll, whether you're using HRMS payroll or one of the other Sage payroll products. We can talk about that. But most importantly, just at the high level, capturing where does this employee work, what we consider your org levels. Now, again, this is a demonstration system. All the data you're going to see here today is my fake company called Dunedin Enterprises, and we've chosen some organizational levels that we have in the solution here. But you absolutely get to decide what your org levels are called for obvious purposes that we'll see later. If we go into an employee record itself, it's going to break it down into different key areas. Everything that you would expect to be in here at first. So personal information, demographics, their address, maybe their personal email address, some personal information about the employee, their SSN. If we want them included on any of those EEO1 or EEO4 reports that we want, you might have to generate. Their birth date, so we'll see this, from an age perspective. Do we have to calculate rates on benefits, such as life insurance and those kinds of things? If they're a smoker, do they have an additional rate for their benefits? We'll talk about that as well. Photo around the employee. As we onboard the employee and bring them in, whether it's from the Cyber Recruiter product or we can manage them from the console, you can see some different information around, for instance, when they were hired or if they've been rehired. Maybe they're a seasonal employee or something along those lines. It will calculate their seniority dates for them right here. This gives you the flexibility to calculate different benefits, such as that next accrual rate for their time off plans, or if they're eligible for a benefit yet. And you don't have to actually change the real compliance around when they were hired. We have the ability to track and maintain Visa I-9 verification statuses, generate alerts, for nice things such as on Veterans Day, thanking a veteran employee for their service. Okay, these are all things that we can generate alerts on, including things such as events. You might have certifications that an employee is about to expire on that you need to notify your manager or the employee themselves to take action on. Okay. Termination info. We can generate alerts based off of triggers, such as it senses a new hire and they need to fill out these particular forms. We'll see the employee side of things in just a minute, to where the employee can actually fill out forms and walk through that process and connect the employee. But as you can see here, termination info. We go to terminate an employee and maybe they have some company property that we need to collect before they leave. These are all alerts that we want to take those automated processes and put them inside the compliance in the system and allow that to take care of it for you within the HRMS. Everything around leave of absence. When an employee was actually requested a leave of absence, when they scheduled and actually returned, and how many hours they were away, and what type of leave of absence was this considered? FMLA leave, even medical certification and recertification dates. You have the ability to have employee notes, different forms around that, whether it's a grievance, a general note. Is it a reprimand that the employee is receiving? And we need to have a follow-up date that reminds the manager and someone in HR around these particular scenarios. Gives the ability to walk through those particular sections, as well as store electronic documents. Have a paperless HR locker, if you will, around that. So is it an application? Is it the employee's resume? Is it a scanned copy of their license or a CDL, for instance? Hit the open button, and we can open it back up in the format that it was uploaded in, PDF, Word doc in this case, so on. Okay. Emergency contacts to build that particular emergency contact list that you might have to generate every quarter or as things change. Some of the other things we'll start shifting gears to a little bit. I'll come back to the job and pay section a little bit. I wanted to show you how our benefits work. So from our benefit plans, each organization has different benefits, different rates, and different carriers that are associated. So we program your benefits into the system, and this is very important, especially when we come to the new ACA requirements. Inside the actual setup of the system, an implementation specialist, Tandem's going to sit down and talk to you about the different plans, whether they're insurance plans, savings plans, and walk you through each one of those setups. So, for instance, as I mentioned before, you might have a company-sponsored life insurance plan as an example, where it's calculated long-term disability or life insurance. In this particular case, it's either the minimum of 2 times their annual salary or $50,000 for a coverage amount. And then we need to decide how much the employee contributes to some of this. So each one, we can have an eligibility requirement that they have to be salary or full-time, a minimum age. We can use those dates, those seniority dates, to determine maybe the employee needs to be here for 3 months or 90 days before they're eligible for these events. And so year over year, we developed this so that your plans can have these compliance and these structures. And year over year, when your rates change, all we have to do is update the rates. So for instance, that life insurance plan, the contribution from the employee, it's going to look at how old the employee is. And we put a factor in here from the insurance company. This one's set up, as you can tell, for a biweekly pay period. And as their rate automatically changes due to age, for instance, I just had a birthday, so I would have crossed over into this next plan, it gives us the ability to automatically change those deductions. Okay? That goes for all the different plans, health insurance plans, any type of plan, including 401k for your savings plans. You can have those contribution amounts. It takes the guesswork. The reason I wanted to show you this first is when we see the open enrollment and the benefit enrollment side of things in employee self-service, you'll know that it's connected. It's not magic. All the rules and the compliance in the system that's set up helps the benefit administrator walk through those benefit enrollments and make sure and ensures that employees that should not be signed up for particular benefit plans don't. One of the other things it also does, so from a big picture standpoint, people ask me all the time, well, great, so what does an HRMS do for you besides just keep track of some of this information and store it? Well, the reason why I skipped over the job and pay section is it's completely integrated, meaning you might have a current pay tab or a current job tab where we're changing some information about that employee. Say like I'm going to give Veronica just a $4 increase here on her annual pay. Now, to most, to most individuals, whether it's the benefits manager or payroll, they would probably just tell you, please, can I just give Veronica $4 out of my pocket? Then, going through and calculating the deductions and everything. Well, the system's going to absolutely calculate everything for you, and then send that over to payroll. Okay, so let's do a live demonstration here. We gave her a $4 increase. We hit the apply button. It can tell us necessary items, such as she's outside of a salary grade range. If we have authority, we can continue on. It's going to create a job history record of any change that we make to her record. We'll come back to that, more on that in just a second, but we'll say yes. And then real quickly, it's going through all my benefit plans to see if any of those deduction changes would be updated based on that increase that I gave Veronica. Well, of course it would for a 401k plan based on a percentage. So I can even put in the date that the new amount takes effect on, a reason code around this. It's going to go through, and it's going to send that deduction over to payroll. Again, whether that's say existing Sage payrolls today, or if you're using our Sage HRMS payroll internally. Now, one of the other things it's also going to do is you saw that history record. So we updated the different deductions. What it's also going to do is create a job history record change for that employee. I can see all the different changes that have ever happened to Veronica's profile. I can go back to 2008 and see this merit increase, look at where she was in the organization, what she was paid, see her previous supervisor, who she reported to, what location or whatever your organizational levels were. Remember, those are here. And see some of the key details. But also we can look at this from the big picture perspective. I know reports aren't always the most exciting thing in the world, but this is where they can save you a lot of time as well. I like to ask the question today, you might be using a spreadsheet. You might be using just a payroll system as a pseudo HR. If someone, an executive team member or someone came up to you and asked you for a salary changes report, a pay change report since 2010, how difficult would that be? That's where the answer of why an HRMS is so important, because any of those history-related questions, you can generate a report that quickly on what was their previous job, where did they previously work, who was their previous supervisor, what is the salary changes report, what is our turnover history. We could spend hours going through all the various reports that you've asked for, but you see how quickly you can generate a report based around this information. Very important to know. When people ask me what our biggest competitor is, a lot of times it's Microsoft Excel or a payroll system. And Microsoft Excel won't remember if you change somebody's salary or pay rate, it won't remember what that value used to be. Whereas a true HRMS such as Sage, this is going to give you the power to actually remember those and report on those analytics throughout your entire employee base. Okay. Things such as benefit reports, very powerful to a benefit administrator. So you also get that control. We talked about changing the rates, seeing what is going on with your rate plans. When we talk about open enrollment just a minute, when we go to employee self-service, we'll see that. Benefit coverage by employee, being able to see really quickly, hey, what have people chosen? What's the monthly contribution for each employee, and being able to audit each one very quickly. Right? Being able to see premium totals after rate changes. Well, what are we expecting for each one of our plans? What are the totals going to look like, or what should they look like when I receive the bill? Okay. One of the biggest ones, one of our favorite ones from our customers, is our benefit letter, or what some people refer to as the total compensation statement. A lot of organizations don't do these, and it's a very valuable report to really show your employees that here's how we invest in our employee base. We appreciate you. This is how much your benefits package costs. This is how much the company pays, and this is what it results in addition in a percentage to your pay. Okay. Very valuable information. Gives you the ability. Now, of course, it can do other things. We mentioned time off tracking, so it can keep the attendance balances within the system. So whether we're looking at FMLA, vacation, sick, PTO, we can keep track of safety incidences that can occur. So if someone tripped on carpet, the notification date and time, anything that we need to do to generate an OSHA 300 report, which is in the reports locker as well. Of course, information around their skills, education, career, previous employment, as well as the flexibility to create personalized pages. As I mentioned before, we might have a company property screen that we want to create to keep track of certain fields. Have these stored in the database so I can report on. Very easily done. As you can see, I have flexibility to add different fields, different types of fields, drop-down lists, date fields, character fields. I was doing a demonstration and the customer was kidding around. They even wanted to add dog name to the property field. You can absolutely do that if you want to. Gives you some flexibility. So this is what we consider the core HRMS of just the actual core itself, the flexibility to set up the fields, your compliance rules, your information, and then, of course, have these reports to go through and generate that OSHA 300 report, the EEO reports that you might need, VETS 100 reports, and so on. This is the core HRMS. Now what I want to do at this point is shift focus over to more of the employee side. So how can we connect your employees, your managers, to the different life cycles and this data and actually get them connected with that. And from there, what we'll do is we're going to shift over to the employee self-service module. Now, if you'll notice, at this point, I'm opening up a web browser. This is absolutely a web-based application that of course, all you need is a web browser to run this. It utilizes the existing data that you have and a lot of that configuration we just spoke about. So your benefit rules, your employees' information, from a manager perspective, who that employee actually works for. Okay. So employee self-service, you can access this from a mobile device or a desktop laptop, as we talked about. Makes it very easy. You can personalize these pages with your own logo and your own welcome message and welcome page. We're going to log in today as in our company, our VP of HR. And the reason we're going to do that is we can see her record not only from an employee, but also from a manager perspective, a benefit administrator perspective, and we can also see this, of course, from a system admin to be able to make some online special web-based reports. Now, when the employee first logged in, she, of course, can see a quick dashboard of some things going on. Obviously, as an employee, she can see some information around her time off balances, because we understand that HR departments, I know they never get asked how much time off someone has. Different benefits, again, what you're currently signed up for, what the employer is paying for this particular benefit for you, kind of to do that job marketing a little bit more. And if that employee is a manager as well, they'll see a manager tab here, which we'll talk about in just a minute, but they can also see a dashboard based around their employees if you would like them to. This is all personalized on what you allow your employees and managers to see, how you allow them to interact with the data. But specifically from the employee level, this gives the employee the ability to connect to those details I just showed you. So all this information, those pieces that we just walked through, it's nice to be able to give the employee access to them and say, hey, you know what? I just moved, and I would like to be able to update this information. And not have HR be the data entry person anywhere. Now, of course, HR would still be the authority, the approval authority, so nothing goes in the system without HR's approval and that workflow, but it gives you the ability to connect with that employee. So from an employee life cycle, congratulations, you're hired, those kinds of scenarios. Let me update my data. We can do that. And the employee, if you allow them to, can change their information. Some other things that the employee might be able to do, of course, is enroll in benefits if it's during your open enrollment period, or maybe they're eligible for what we consider a life event. They have a change in marital status. They have a change of dependent, birth of a child. Or are they a new hire? And remember, we talked about those benefits. So it gives us the ability to choose for each life event or each open enrollment period what that employee, remember from the eligibility requirements, what they're eligible for, and display that to them right here. And walk them through a step-by-step process based on your benefit offerings. Give you an example. On our demonstration company's medical plan, we offer 3 different levels of medical benefits here. And the employee, if they're eligible for all 3, they can see all 3. If they're only eligible for one, maybe you have to become more senior to be eligible for one of these. It's going to display that. Also, if you notice, because of those rates and those rate tables I showed you before, that's why I wanted to start in the core so we could see it. That's where your rules come from. So things like employee cost, if your employees ask, well, what is the difference? If I select my 2 children here, what's the difference between the high deductible and the health savings? Well, I can click each one of these and hit update cost, and it will show me my total either per month or per pay period at the top. Walks me through choosing my benefits. So plan by plan, dental, all the way through. It will bring me to the very end where I can choose a benefit summary. Employer contribution, hey, this is what you've selected. It'll also look for any errors as I'm going through that maybe the benefit manager typically had to be that first set of eyes. Now this will be the first set of eyes for you. It'll say, hey, you forgot to select some dependents for this particular plan. For your life insurance, you didn't put a beneficiary down. Those kind of situations. Goes through and does that. And then finally, it'll have the employee sign off on their benefits and authenticate that their benefit plan was signed off by them. It can also help the benefit administrator remind employees that, hey, you have 10 days left to enroll in these benefits. What's nice is to really draw it full circle. After the benefit administrator can look at those reports that we talked about, remember, from the benefit administrator can see the reports, can talk to that, approve the enrollment, we have a module called Benefits Messenger where we set up your carriers in the system, so whoever your carriers are, we tie those carrier plans to the carriers, so the actual which plans go to which carriers, and all of this data can be electronically filed and sent directly to the carriers on either a push or a scheduled basis. And so I like to think about that for just a second. So of course, your open enrollment, can be sent over. Your new hire or your life events, whatever those life events that you might have. But also think about all the carrier changes that you might have to make every time an employee or one of their dependents changes an address or something along those lines. What I call an employee maintenance event. You have to turn around and send those across. We can do those for you here through Benefits Messenger, hopefully saving you time there. Employee self-service allows you to see a couple other things, again, like we said, from a time off perspective. Again, you can see that here. Gives you that ability. From a basic level, it gives you the ability to request time to the manager, vacation and sick leave, and how many hours, and have that approved by your manager. If you have Sage 300 payroll or Sage HRMS payroll, it allows you to see your pay advices right on the screen. So you can upload those and have those distributed to your employees. It allows you to see, of course, your current benefits as you go through what, at any given particular time, what the employer is choosing to pay for the benefits and what you've actually elected. Okay? Some other things that you can choose to do too. You can add your own related links, information pages. You can add your own, links that you might have to internal resources and those kinds of things to the system. It gives you a lot of flexibility to make your own menu items in here as well. From a manager perspective, a manager can see information about their employees. How much time off an employee has. What does their time off bank look like? It can give them information around the employee's profile, the things we were just talking about, including emergency contacts if they need to look up an emergency contact. Okay. From there, we can really branch out in some other patterns and other types of reports. Managers might want an online report based on the data that's in HRMS for their individual employees. And part of employee self-service, we give a product called View Builder. View Builder allows you to create an online web-based report and then give managers access to that through the web or through an advanced Excel file called an IQI file. Real easy to do. It walks you through a step-by-step approach where you can upload and basically choose what kind of fields we're talking about, the order that we want to see them in, and then preview them. So if we were looking for a particular manager says, okay, I want to see my employees. Here's their last review dates. Ooh, I'm way behind on some of these review dates. I need to get up to speed. Or any of the information that you want to supply them, you simply make a report available in what we call the report library and inside employee self-service. And they can securely access that based on their security rights. Okay. Some of the other things I want to talk to you about from the process is really some of the other employee life cycle events that we can utilize as the HRMS as a portal. Some of you might be saying, Scott, really the beginning of that employee life cycle is a huge part that we want to find a solution for. We're starting to recruit people, and the need for talent in our organization is huge. And that's where our actual cyber recruiter solution comes into play. We can really talk to you more about the type of workflows that your organization is prepared for. Maybe, for instance, you have managers that request a position or can create a position and have HR approve it. If so, that's where our recruiting module comes into play, where you have an online web-based approach based on the information in the HRMS. So maybe a manager or an HR department says, great, I want to be able to create a position, or I need to refill a position, maybe someone left or was promoted, and I want to go through and create a position, either to post it to a job board or to our actual career page. We'll show you about that in just a second. But what it's going to do is it's going to walk through the process, look at all the individual jobs that you have, and what we have is job templates around each one of these, and walks you through the process of filling in the position, again, based around your org levels. We might have some of these hard-coded. And also, who the hiring manager is for that particular position. So maybe it's John Wayne. Why is the position open? Is it a new position, or are we refilling? Are we backfilling? When do we want a preferred candidate to be available? If I work with an outside recruiter, who would have access to see this position and to try to fill information? So you can even have outside recruiters log in if you want. Steps you through that process. Job descriptions, job qualifications, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time when you're posting. Other relevant job information, meaning if we're posting to a job board or to social media, what is our instructions? Maybe we give them a link and we say, all applicants must apply through our website, our career site. So that way it makes it easier on the recruiting department or the HR department on collecting those applications. Have it all in one place so we're not going to 7 different places to try to determine who the actual applicant is. Right? Walk you through that. Also the workflow, that compliance, that sign off about the actual position, or pre-screening candidates with position-specific questions. You know, if you're looking for 10 years of experience, how many years of experience do you have? If I say I only have 5, maybe I'm not a good fit. Those kind of situations, and it would pre-screen me out of this position that the employee or the applicant would have to answer. Also, who approves it? So maybe it goes from an executive to a manager to a recruiter, and looking for errors. Maybe it's hard code. Maybe the manager starts the process off and you allow in your organization for them to do that, but HR has to approve any position, of course, before it's posted. All right? These are all workflows that we can walk through and handle. Okay. Also, what it does is it gives your website an actual career page. I'll give you an example of, this is our fake company. This is their web page. So if you picture in your mind your website today, we would literally take your website and we would just put this snippet of HTML code that I'm highlighting here on the screen. These little search boxes, or some of you may prefer, instead of a search style, where if you click a career link on your website, it would be your branding, your page. Maybe you just want to show open positions. Maybe that's easier. It gives the applicant the ability to log in, see their information, and apply for those positions that we create and answer those specific questions that you might have for each one of these positions based on your needs. Internally, if we go back internally, managers, HR, recruiters, whoever's involved in the process can see the position requisitions that they've been assigned and review the applicants internally. So not only does it handle the job or the requisition side of things, it also handles the applicant side of things as well. It's a full applicant tracking module. So for instance, if we go into this admin assistant position I posted, these are all the information that we had so far, information about when it was posted, how many people do we need. Maybe we're filling the 10 openings. We need to do that. But we can look at approvals, costs around this particular job so far. Maybe we had to take someone out to dinner or pay a recruiter. We can also see the applicants that have been assigned and what their statuses are. Okay. This solution will also automate your correspondences to those applicants. So if you put them in a status of, basically not whatever you would consider your status to be, they're not qualified, they didn't pass background check, whatever those statuses are, it can automatically send them an email that you design, a template, saying, dear Scott, you didn't meet the qualifications for this particular application, for this particular requisition, but please continue to apply. Those kinds of situations. We can also route them. We find 3 good candidates that we want. We can copy them to a new requisition, email them, or we might say, hey, managers, I want to send these managers an email with all of their information that quickly. I just did that, and it's going to keep that information, that audit trail, within the system. Now, once you've stepped an applicant all the way through the system, including things such as offering an actual offer letter, benefits package that you can attach to those correspondences, that's when you can take all of that information and hire that applicant into Sage HRMS through the wizard. So there's no manual entry of that applicant's data or information. No duplicate data entry going, okay, everything we just found, we have to hire them in and retype it and hope it's right. That's a thing of the past. So that next step in that, really that employee lifecycle process, a lot of you might be saying is, okay, great, that's great, Scott. After we did the actual recruiting process, we've hired someone in. 2 weeks later, there's some post-hire things that we really need to fill the gap with. And that's where some of our other solutions within the Hrms portfolio can really come into play and help you out. So when that particular applicant, if we just hired somebody and the Hrms system senses that there's a new applicant in the system, there's a new hire, and it might be 2 weeks from now is when their job start date is, well, we can start sending emails to, for instance, IT, saying, Scott was just hired. He works for Veronica's team. His job title is he's an HR assistant, and so on and so forth. So IT knows that I need a username and password for my computer. I probably need a computer or a phone line or something along those lines. Maybe I need some additional company property, such as a badge or a cell phone. Gives me the ability to automate some of those processes for the HR department. It also gives me the ability to do some of those post-hire onboarding tasks, such as the forms that you may have. We affectionately refer to those, and you might hear Tandem refer to those as your onboarding novel. You know, that stack of paper that you have today where you say, even after you've been hired and they've been through the recruiting process, you say, all right, congratulations, you're a new employee. Now you have to fill out all this. Well, this is where we can sense those different types of forms that you might have. And instead of having them fill out paper, which then HR, payroll, whoever the department is, has to turn around and hand enter all this data in, let's just have the employee fill it out and have HR approve it, and it's saved in the system without manual data entry. One of the forms, and these are just examples of forms, you can create your own. The system comes with about 40 standard forms as well. One of them might be, on an onboarding scenario, might be an employee data confirmation. They were hired, but 2 weeks later, did they move for the position? So it says, okay, this is a current value that we brought in from the recruiter. You know, obviously we hope your social security number didn't change in between, but just let's confirm that all this data is correct. Well, maybe the employee says, no, I just moved for this job, so I'm going to update this. Maybe it's some information that we couldn't ask yet, like emergency contacts. So we get the employee to fill those in. And then each form, that's the important thing to know about, each and every form has its own workflow. So you may have forms today that you say, hey, we have an HR change form, we have an HR pay change form, we have a job title pay change form. Each one of them has different routings. It goes from managers to different individuals in the organization. Great. Let's set our forms up and your forms up to do exactly what the paper did today, but instead of it being a piece of paper that if someone comes to you and they say, yeah, you know, I dropped a piece of paper on your desk. Well, when? No, it was a day ago. This HR Actions solution is going to tell you, it's going to email you when something requires your attention. It'll say, hey, Scott, you've got something to approve over here. It's also going to tell you, and you'll be able to see what those routings and what those statuses, what those forms look like as they go through the actual routing process. So even after you've approved something, who's looking at it? What are the changes that have occurred so far? And who are we waiting on to make the change or finally approve it? So it gives you a lot of flexibility and control when it comes to that solution. within the system as well, some of the other things we have in the employee life cycle, we have full levels of training. So whether you're looking to deploying content based on the employee has.
Hey, Scott, this is Linda, and you are breaking up really bad. Boy, I don't know what's going on. I'm sure maybe it's, I don't know if it's just me or what, but
This is Garth. I hear it as well.
okay.
I hear it also.
Yes, so do I.
Same here.
Yeah, it's not, whatever you're doing is not helping, Scott. Wow, this is crazy.
Send him a message, a chat message, Linda.
Well, I think he can hear us, though.
Oh, you do? Okay.
No, we still can't hear you good. Your voice is breaking up. It just doesn't. Okay, I think maybe he said he's going to call right back in. So while we're waiting on Scott, what does everybody think?
I'm confused.
You're confused. Ken?
I just hope it's going to be real easy to input people.
Well, and the fact that it's connected to your Sage 300 payroll module is going to make things very easy for you guys as well.
Yeah, I hope so. But we'll have to go and set up our insurance and benefits and all that other good stuff.
Right, and some of the things that Scott is showing people today are modules that are also available, like the employee self-service. Some of these things I'm not going to kid with you. They're an additional charge.
Hello, this is Scott. Everyone hear me now?
Hi, we can hear you, Scott. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry it happened. Welcome.
Oh, that's very much okay. Sometimes we get a bad line. I could hear everyone just fine, but it could not hear me, so I apologize.
All right. Well, I'll let you get started back then, Scott.
Okay. Sorry about that for the technical difficulties. So what I was saying is that basically with our different offerings of training levels, as you can see here, we can provide training, tracking, and compliance information all the way from just the actual tracking information to actual job-specific content. So if you have your own content today that you want to deploy and provide to your employees and actually have them sign off, you can do that as well. So that gives you the ability to track it all the way through and maintain those different employee trackings, ensure compliance around quizzes, and actually have managers notified if they walk through and take the actual training and walk through that. So that gives you several different options. Just want to notify you when it comes to that. As part of your HR assessment through Tandem, feel free to talk about your different training levels, whether you have instructors, individual requirements. This is our Sage HRMS Cyber Train component, which allows the employee or the student to see what type of training that they're required to take. It will alert them on that, and also give the manager visibility into what their employee is behind on or what they actually need and to take, as well as a training coordinator from an upper level management perspective, seeing the entire picture of the organization and what areas are we not compliant on. Okay, it gives us that ability there. Some of the other things within the system that we have is a full integrated time and attendance solution as well, Sage HRMS time and attendance. And if you have a time and attendance need today, there's so much that goes around actual time and attendance compliance, but the main important fact to understand about a time and attendance solution is that you have an integrated time and attendance with your HR. You hire somebody and they are a certain, they work in a certain department or a certain area of your organization. They have a certain job title. That's where most of the employee rules around time and attendance come from. Who they work for, what is their schedule, what are some alerts that we want to send to the managers, to people with compliance, to the payroll administrators. What are alerts that we would like to know when they occur, not after they occur? Like if somebody's approaching an overtime premium, if they're leaving early or coming in late. These are all things that we can track for you. And as your workforce changes, people change departments, receive new job titles, the time and attendance system can track and keep updated just for you. So it'll make those changes. It'll hire an employee into the time and attendance solution for you, so you don't have to do that manually. It will report these different alerts and requests to their manager. So time tracking, time off requests, reports, all available within the time and attendance solution. So definitely encourage you to speak to Tandem and Linda's team regarding your time and attendance needs. Huge opportunities to walk through and talk about automation and saving money, time, and energy when it comes to time and attendance tracking. Okay. And as you can see, we can utilize this employee self-service portal as that main area to walk through the employee information set. Now, just looking at the clock, I know we've pretty much reached the end of our solution overview today. I definitely wanted to just say that this was a high-level overview. It's one of those things that Linda's team really wants to talk to you about the entire big picture, some of the different areas that we can have, and I'm sure as we're walking through, there's many of you that were saying, oh, yes, I could understand this alert, or I'd like to have an alert for this. Can we do that? Please feel free to speak to Linda on the actual HR assessment regarding those particular areas of your organization and that single point of truth all around the HRMS. Some of the other add-ons that we talked about today and we didn't talk about today, we have integrations, of course, with org charts and dashboards that we can design and help you out to. Workflows around that, and of course, different payroll processing needs, payroll outsourcing, as well as electronic tax filing as we go all the way through. So, as we can see today, hopefully my presentation showed you from a high level what some of the Hrms portfolio can do for you, and really gives you some more information about how we can dive in. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Linda and the team, and we can field questions for anybody that would like to ask those now.
Well, Scott, thank you so very much again for doing this presentation to our clients. It's always nice to have someone from Sage doing this for us. That way, all of the the demo image is already there, and we can show everything instead of bits and pieces sometimes. So does anybody have any questions for Scott?
Yeah, Linda, I definitely see one on the screen about they would love to see the entire presentation again, hopefully with the part where the glitch is clipped out. But we can definitely provide that as well.
Right, for the tape. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm hoping that we can. That's why I always say it might be a couple of days. We like to dub out sometimes when something like that goes awry. So, I want to remind everybody to either contact me, Linda Kiernan, or your consultant that you work with on regular basis, so that we can provide you with the HRMS assessment. And I also want to remind you not to miss June. We're doing the webinar on the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, which is part of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but that's part of the Workforce Analyzer.
Absolutely correct.
One of the items that's there. And so I think that you can already start registering for that via our website or in the newsletter announcement that we've sent out. So I want to thank everybody for being on here, and if we don't have any questions, we'll let everybody get back to their day.
Thank you, Karen. Or Linda. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Ken.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Goodbye now.
Thanks, Scott.